And joining us is William Mulehi, who is the agricultural food systems expert for Sub-Saharan Africa at Intel Cap. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Today.
All right, thank you, Calvin.
All right, let's get right into it. When you look at food security in Kenya, first of all, even access to good food in Kenya, is it really something that we need to think about?
That is definitely something I think we need to be really considerate about because the access of this particular good food, and especially to the communities that are actually the ones that are producing this good food, is a challenge because where the food should actually be coming from are the ones who are not actually accessing this particular good food. Mm-hmm. And there's a myriad of challenges that are associated with this. One, of course, is the affordability of this good food and also the access of the final processed good food. So we see a situation where the food that is actually supposed to be coming from, they are not accessing this good food, and this was because of a myriad of factors, like in terms of the infrastructure, how are they able to access this particular good food? So looking at the roads, for example, so once the good food has been produced, and then now it's taken back to them to be able to access it, we see that there's a challenge at this particular point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So let me take you back a bit. A farmer has planted. They have gone through the plantation period, the weeding and everything else, and then they have harvested the food. Mm-hmm. And then now it comes to storage and the movement from the farm to the market. So when you look at a farmer and how they handle their post-harvest, do you think the information is there, the right information is there for how they handle the product that has been harvested?
Yes, so there's I think different ways of looking at it.
Yes.
One, of course, is for them to be able to actually know how they're supposed to produce. We engage, for example, with private sector companies that are able to come on board, meet these farmers, especially in a group of farmers, and they are able now to give them or to sensitize them in terms of various things such as first of all, what is your soil pH and all those other types of things, and then now again also looking at that in terms of are they able to access quality seedlings or seeds that are going to be able to produce this particular good food, and then of course post that I think there's the whole journey of between planting, how you take care of the crop up until the final when you're doing the harvesting. Mm-hmm. And then again therein comes in another challenge in terms of how the final products, the produce is handled. Mm-hmm. So again, there needs to be a lot of sensitization in terms of how final product is handled, and then now taken to the market. And then now, based on that, I think also some of the companies that we have engaged with as Intellecap, we've been able to provide these organizations with technical assistance support, where they are able to cascade the support that we provide them through technical assistance down to the farmers who they work with, because ultimately that's where their produce is coming from. So they get their inputs, their raw materials from the farmers, mm-hmm. They produce it, and then now sell it now to the market. All so right. That's sort of like the journey in terms of how that goes.
All right, and now let us look at the market, because you've explained now before they reach the market. Now, when they are in the market, for example, let us just look at a typical Kenyan market, anywhere in Nairobi, even in the Mashinani areas. How are products handled in markets when it comes to how fruits are put together? How are they stored? Are we doing the right thing when it comes to how we store various products that we have, even the vegetables that we usually get from different markets?
Yes. So again, coming back to the issue about handling post the harvest, we also see that there's a lot of challenges that a lot of retailers and other businesses have that challenge. One, of course, looking at also just when you receive these products, there are some that would ideally be rejected, and they're rejected for various reasons. Let's say like the size, or the color, or maybe they're too close to their sell-by date, or they are at their sell-by date. And so these products would ideally be sort of like rejected. And and so that again comes back to the issue of food loss and trying to understand, okay, so what happens to these particular products that are sort of like rejected from the market. And so, for example, at Intelcap, we have an organization that we're working with who they actually buy this produce that has generally been rejected or they're too close, and they sort of like blend it and make it into a stew that is more nutritious, and they are able now to sell that as a food, as a dried package, so you can buy it from the supermarket. All you need is just to add maybe water and maybe a bit of salt, and it's good to go. So that's one aspect in terms of how they deal with the losses, but generally, just going back to what you've talked about in terms of how this food is handled, it's a very delicate issue because food is actually very delicate, and so we are trying to help organizations in terms of how do you prolong the shelf life of these particular products, and so that's where we've come up with one of the projects that we are managing called the Good Food Innovation Fund, which is supporting businesses that are actually doing the fortification of a lot of the foods that would ideally just go to waste. So if it's maize flour, so it's added with a few nutrients here and there, a few proteins, and then now based on that, it's able to last longer on the shelves, and then because of its nutritional nature, because it's fortified with the vitamins and all the other nutrients, then it's able to be more nutritious and have a longer shelf life when it comes to being on the shelf in the supermarkets or in the stores that it's being sold.
So basically what I'm getting from you is a value addition also contributes really a huge percentage when it comes to the food that is rejected.
Yes.
So on the food that is rejected, let us look at the export market when it comes to food that is not really up to standard of what is supposed to be exported. And I remember there's a publication that was really explaining this and saying 40% of the food that is rejected just goes to waste. Now, if you look at 40% of the food that is rejected goes to waste, so that one just explains it is just left at a dump site somewhere. So what can be done? How can we make sure that at least the food that is rejected, that is not up to standard, is also able to just go back into the market and also be sold?
So again, just going back to what we've just talked about in terms of how do we prolong this shelf life of this particular products or produce. So one, of course, is going to be being able to sort of like infuse it or mix them up. Let's say like if it's vegetables, let's say like green grams and maybe beans, for example, they are able now to sort of like be blended into a mix that is nutritious. And then now based on that, it's dried. So coming what you just talked about, the value addition, that's one of the aspects that we are trying to advocate for in terms of the businesses that we work with. But then again, that's now sort of like spins off to another sort of like challenge, which is how are these organizations going to be able to fortify this? So it, of course, it's going to require a lot of capital in terms of machinery and equipment. And again, another challenge now that would fall onto these businesses is the access to capital in terms of having these machine affordable and accessible to them. And so through one of the projects called the Good Food Innovation Fund, we are able to sort of like provide the businesses with capital so that they are able to purchase these equipment, and now based on that, now they are able to cascade that benefit in terms of how they produce this food, provide that mixed up, and then are able to sort of like package it and sell it to actually the local community, so mostly the underserved and unserved population, because I think that's where the real challenge is. It's not mostly in the urban areas,
yes,
but mostly in the underserved and unserved populations across the country.
Right. Even as we now conclude this conversation, when you look at the underserved, the way you've mentioned, going forward, how can they be sensitized in order for them to take care of food in the simplest and most easiest way possible?
Yeah, so I think just from beginning, I think these local, especially the local farmers, should be able to, access good quality seeds that will ensure that the crop that they are actually going to be planting is going to be, a good crop. And then now, based on that, now sensitizing them through, the process in terms of planting, adhering to, be it, the soil pH, what sort of fertilizers you need to do, if you can be organic, that's even better. And then now, a lot of sensitization to them is going to be able to support them in terms of moving from the journey in terms of from the planting all the way to harvesting the same.